accomplishments. He's three division undisputed. Moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure.
This may be the last time we see our legend, the greatest fighter of this generation. I told y'all back then that Bud would beat Floyd Mayweather. Y'all didn't believe me.
You can do it. But what I'm saying is, if you have a victory over this man now, just does it, what for what? Terence Crawford, we know what you are.
Boxing experts explain why Terence Crawford is now being viewed as the GOAT after his historic victory over Canelo Alvarez. Many believe his ability to move up in weight and continue dominating proves a rare level of greatness that separates him from past legends. Robert Garcia shared this sentiment, saying Crawford has surpassed Floyd Mayweather in that aspect. He noted how Crawford decisively won 9 to 10 rounds and displayed a relentless drive that Canelo couldn't match. Garcia emphasized that Mayweather never took on such a challenge, making Crawford's achievement even more extraordinary in boxing history.
I don't see that hunger in him anymore. I don't see those changes anymore. He fights flat-footed, throws one punch at a time. He's not fast anymore, and that's why I picked Crawford by decision.
Are you surprised at how easy it was?
Look, not that I'm surprised, because what I just told you, I think Crawford is very talented, and Crawford is hungry to become a legend. He wanted to become that three-time, 3-division undisputed. He wanted to make history by going up 2 divisions to beat Canelo, one of the greatest of all time. So he was hungry for it. I think Canelo has already done so much, has made so much money, that he's not hungry anymore.
Do you think possibly that Crawford is up there with Pacquiao or Mayweather?
I think in accomplishments, he's three division undisputed. Moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
Do you think Crawford should retire after this or fight someone else?
Look, I think a rematch would be fucking good for Crawford to just beat him again and do the same thing if Canelo doesn't have any changes. If he doesn't, he needs to do a lot of changes. Canelo needs to do.
Greg Hackett strongly dismissed the idea that Terence Crawford needs another big fight to prove his greatness, especially after Turki Alshik suggested a matchup with David Benavidez. Hackett argued that Crawford has already secured his place in boxing history by moving up in weight to dominate and defeat Canelo Alvarez, something few thought possible in such convincing fashion. To Hackett, that win wasn't just another victory. It was a career-defining moment that placed Crawford among the sport's all-time greats. He highlighted that Crawford's jump from welterweight to super middleweight to conquer one of this era's most respected champions was unprecedented. In Hackett's view, this single performance cements Crawford's legacy. He doesn't need to fight Benavidez or anyone else to prove it. Hackett concluded that sometimes one fight tells an entire career's story, and Crawford's win over Canelo is exactly that.
Knievel effect, like, alright, you jumped over 3 buses. Let's say if you could do 10 buses. You know what I'm saying? He trying to test his limits, and they think the money is going to keep getting him out there. That fight is pointless. The fight is pointless because nobody ever talked about that fight until now. And then I don't feel like Bud needs a Benavidez. And then that would mean Benavidez would have to go into a different body and bring himself back down to 68 when he's already getting settled in at 175. And you know, I believe Benavidez has some tough tasks in front of him that he want to conquer before even talking like that. I don't even think he wanted to talk like that because there's really no point. He wanted the Canelo fight because Canelo was the man at 68. He was at 68. I don't think he cared about fighting Bud, and I don't think Bud cared about fighting Benavidez. That's just Turkey trying to pull rank. Turkey trying to show he got a golden arm. You know what I mean?
I understand that Turkey likes to make these big grand events, but there's a boxing aspect to this shit too. Like, some stuff gotta make boxing sense. Bringing the dude down that's been comfortable at 75, bringing him back down to 68, and then having him fight a dude that just jumped 3 weight classes in 2 fights that started his career off at 35.
Right.
Like, no, bro. No.
Yeah, I don't want to see that fight. There's no point. There's no point. Like I said, Bud, you just go get a line of suits. You know what I'm saying? Get ready to just start talking about this shit.
What kind of suits?
Showbiz the Adult described Terence Crawford's achievement as one of the most remarkable single-fight accomplishments in modern boxing. He admired how Crawford methodically rose from welterweight to middleweight, and ultimately to 168 pounds, executing a flawless plan to dethrone Canelo Alvarez. According to him, this wasn't a case of luck but a meticulously crafted journey where every step built toward this defining moment. Showbiz noted that the fight felt destined. Crawford was composed, precise, and sharper than ever. He stated that Crawford no longer needs to prove anything, calling it the fight of fights. For Showbiz, the boxing world has witnessed enough to close the chapter on Crawford's greatness, as his dominance over Canelo showcased every quality of a true legend. He concluded that there's no need for further challenges. Crawford has already done more than enough to solidify his place at the top of the sport.
No, there is no way Terence Bud Crawford beat Saul Canelo Alvarez at 168. Canelo Alvarez was the super middleweight undisputed champion and younger. Terence Crawford was 26 at lightweight. Canelo Alvarez at 26, what was he, a middleweight? Terence Bud Crawford just grew to 154 at 36 years old. Canelo hasn't been able to make 154 since he was a baby. Terence Bud Crawford jumped up from welterweight to super middleweight to beat one of the greatest fighters of all time, to become 3-time undisputed in 3 different weight classes. Enough said.
Enough said.
It shed light on his victory against Errol the Truth Spence. That is for damn sure. Just the way he dominated him. Errol Spence was in there like, what the? If Canelo is saying there wasn't shit I can do in there, Errol Spence had to have been in there like, holy shit. It brings light to his resume. Everybody ducked him. We kind of knew that Bob Arum had Manny Pacquiao avoid Terence Crawford. I can't say Manny Pacquiao avoided Terence Crawford, but Bob Arum definitely did. PBC, welterweights in the PBC all avoided him. I am here to give credit to Terence Crawford for being one of the most ducked fighters in history. So you cannot any longer blame his resume, his greatness, and look at his resume when we all know, genuinely, we have to be genuine, that he is one of the most ducked fighters of all time, like Bob Foster, like Black Murderers Row, Charlie Burley and Eddie Booker and all those guys. Listen, Terence Crawford by himself is Black Murderers Row of this era. Now, do I need Terence Bud Crawford to continue fighting? Hell no. For what? If you beat Terence Crawford now, what do you want him to do? Strip down to 160, lose that muscle mass he has, and be a little bit... We saw that with Roy Jones Jr., but he can do it. He's the everything man. He can do it. But what I'm saying is, if you have a victory over this man now, just doesn't... What for?
Tim Bradley has long praised Terence Crawford's greatness, and after this fight, he felt completely vindicated. He reminded fans that he had always called Crawford the baddest man on earth, and the way Crawford dismantled Canelo Alvarez proved him right. Bradley noted that many doubters believed Crawford was too small for the higher weight classes, yet he didn't just compete, he dominated with stunning ease. He highlighted how effortless the performance appeared, as if Crawford were sparring instead of facing one of boxing's most dangerous punchers. In Bradley's view, this victory elevates Crawford beyond most champions, even inviting favorable comparisons to Floyd Mayweather. He argued that Crawford has now reached a level where any discussion of the greatest boxer of all time must place his name at the very top. For Bradley, this win wasn't just about defeating Canelo. It was about redefining what it truly means to be pound for pound number one and possibly the best fighter the sport has ever seen.
Y'all saying, no, he too small, Tim. He too small. Man, that was easy. That was easy. That was more easy than I thought. Terence said he was going to have him crying, and he had him crying when they was walking out. They was crying. Oh, yeah. They were damn crying. They was upset. Head was down. They couldn't believe what they just witnessed. Oh, yeah. Boxing performance. I told y'all this was going to be one of the greatest boxing performances of all times. I told y'all. Y'all didn't believe me. Oh, Tim, you over here, you riding Crawford. You riding him like he God. You riding him like he invincible, all this stuff. You don't see that greatness now? You don't see that greatness. Yeah, hey, go ahead and hop on the train. It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody.
Luke Thomas described Terence Crawford as nothing short of a boxing genius. He reflected on how Canelo Alvarez, a fighter often compared to legends and known for dominating countless challengers, was made to look ordinary under Crawford's control. To Thomas, the performance echoed Crawford's earlier win over Ricky Burns, only on a far greater and more historic scale. He noted that Canelo is no simple opponent. He's one of the most skilled and accomplished champions in modern boxing. Yet Crawford dismantled him with surgical precision. Thomas emphasized that the genius wasn't just in the win itself, but in how Crawford anticipated every move, timed his counters perfectly, and neutralized Canelo's biggest weapons. He called it a masterclass that stunned analysts with its effortless execution. For Thomas, the fact that Crawford made a fighter of Canelo's caliber look so ordinary cements him as one of the greatest tactical minds the sport has ever seen.
Canelo had some good punches in this fight. I thought early on that left hook to the body, which he got away from in the middle parts of the fight, got back to it a little bit at the end, but again, he was catching and shooting was a big part of why that went away. Bud was like, bop, catching him for it. Several times he hit him with that. Canelo had a decent jab at times. That right hand was able to catch Bud cleanly a couple of times, but not really. Bud's face looked normal, fine. You would never have known he went 12 rounds. Remarkable beyond words, man. Remarkable. That is so. I fucking hope and pray that everyone who is I don't know what the casuals are going to say. I really don't. But for the real fight fans, the ones who are probably watching the stream, I hope you appreciate what you just took a look at. Daring to be great. Daring to do what people just basically, people have unified, or I should say, I've gone undisputed in 3 weight classes before, but it's exceedingly rare, right? And to go up such a fucking jump. And let's go over one more thing if we can here for just a moment. One of the things that Bud has been trying to argue is that the boxing establishment has overlooked him. He was never their darling. He was never the guy that they picked. He was never the one that they chose ahead of time and was like, we're going to anoint you as our figure. He was never that guy, that was not him. And beating Spence got him a pretty far away in terms of changing attitudes, but Canelo was the big one. because Canelo was that guy. Now, Canelo, of course, earned everything he's gotten too. That's not the point. But like what I'm trying to say is Canelo was the promotional darling. Hello, the face of boxing. You know what I mean? And not just the face of boxing in this country, the face of boxing in another country. Dude, this motherfucker was the face of boxing worldwide, but in particular in North America, right? And something of a promotional darling, and always the A side, and this, that, and the other. And that was not Crawford's journey, man. That was, that was not Crawford's,
Aid Oladipo took a practical approach when analyzing the aftermath of Terence Crawford's victory. He explained that Crawford has already accomplished everything a fighter can, from conquering multiple divisions to defeating one of the sport's most celebrated champions in Canelo Alvarez. Because of that, Oladipo doesn't see a rematch happening anytime soon, as Canelo no longer appears fit to step back into the ring against Crawford. He suggested that Canelo may have reached the end of his run at the elite level and that forcing another fight between the two would do little to benefit the sport.
It's the complete opposite. Benavidez is massive for 168 pounds, hence why the 175 jump isn't even a jump, it's normal for him. And he's coming not at the end of his career, he's coming into the peak of his career. So, I don't know, man. If Crawford were to take that one, geez, I mean, this guy's got balls of steel. Balls of steel. Is that financially the biggest fight out there for him? Probably. Especially if Benavidez puts a beating on Yard. I mean, you sell it more. It's another crossover Mexican Mexican-American, African-American. Those things always...
However, Oladipo noted that David Benavidez remains a massive and dangerous opponent, even larger than Canelo, and represents the kind of challenge Crawford would need to consider if he chose to keep proving himself. Still, Oladipo believes Crawford has already accomplished enough. While a fight with Benavidez would be huge, he feels it's not necessary to further cement Crawford's greatness.
Match clause in that fight, I guess there probably would have been. I mean, if you are undisputed at 168 pounds, I think you'd be stupid not to put a rematch clause in there. So look, he might go back to the drawing board, go back to his camp and say, can we beat Crawford? Like, have an honest conversation with Eddie Reynoso and the other trainers in that camp and say, can we beat him? And if we can, where did we go wrong? Can we fix it in time to get in the ring with him again in 7 or 8 months? And if Eddie says no, then there has to be a real conversation of, okay, what's the point then? What's the point? What else is out there? Like, it's been so long that Canelo's not fought for a world title. It's even weird for me to even think about Canelo fighting and it not being for a world title.
One analyst broke down the technical brilliance behind Terence Crawford's performance, emphasizing that it wasn't just about the result but the precision in how he achieved it. Crawford's movement around the ring was described as both graceful and calculated, enabling him to dictate the pace from the very first bell. His clever use of angles repeatedly forced Canelo into awkward positions where his trademark combinations lost their effectiveness. The jab, timed with surgical precision, served as one of Crawford's most potent weapons, consistently disrupting Canelo's rhythm and creating openings for clean counters.
Angles. He really didn't just move all the way around the ring. I think he did almost anything that he wanted to do in there, right? Yeah, there was lots of rounds that were like in the bank early, so he didn't really, mix it up. But there was certain points in the fight that he was trying to get Canelo out of there. And wow, it was amazing to see, what all these other guys were able to do with Canelo. And Terence Crawford does something completely different. Beats him way better than Mayweather ever did. Beats him way better than Bivol ever did. He took his soul in the ring. He had no idea.
Every move Crawford made appeared deliberate, designed specifically to dismantle Canelo's strategy. The analyst admitted that few experts expected such a complete display of skill, especially given the size and power difference between the two. Yet Crawford proved that mastery of fundamentals, paired with exceptional ring intelligence, can overcome even the toughest obstacles. For that reason, the analyst concluded that this was more than just a victory. It was a performance that will be remembered and studied as one of boxing's finest demonstrations of technical excellence.
And one of the biggest factors I said, listen, the way Terence Crawford catches his shots on the glove is top tier. And I was really nervous at the fact that, you know what, how is his body frame going to be able to, take it? And when he caught some of those shots, and he was so planted, Canelo moved after his shot versus him, and I said, Terence Crawford's like a tree trunk when it comes to catching some of these shots. He's very prepared, and you don't even know how like calm and collective you need to be able to take, catch those shots. So salute to Terence Crawford. I think that Canelo Alvarez didn't even win a round, man. It was that much of a...
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.